Okay, let's dive in. You've given us this article from CanadianVisa.org. Looks like it was updated pretty recently, January 15th, 2025.
That's right.
It's titled Cost of Living in Canada, Your 2025 Guide. So today, our goal is simple. Unpack this source. Really get into the numbers and insights it offers about living expenses in Canada this year, 2025.
Absolutely.
Help you sort of budget and plan. It goes through, well, everything: housing, transport, food, healthcare, all that, across different cities, too. It feels less about, the grand Canadian dream and more about the brass tacks, the actual financial side of daily life.
And getting a handle on those specific costs, especially from a guide updated so recently, is just, it's essential, really.
Yeah.
Whether you're seriously considering a move or maybe planning a longer stay, or heck, even if you're just curious about the economics up there, these figures, they give you a crucial baseline.
Okay.
They help you start piecing together what budgeting for life in Canada might actually look like for you.
So first off, then, how does this guide position Canada compared to, say, other countries globally?
Well, what's interesting is how it starts. It frames Canada as pretty desirable. It talks about the strong economy, safety, good education, higher standard of living, government services.
Right.
The perks.
Standard stuff, but good context.
Exactly. And to give you a specific number, it pulls from Numbeo data. It says the average monthly spend for a family of 4, this is before rent, mind you, is around 5,187.6 CAD in Canada.
Okay, 5,187 Hasten CAD. And how does that compare?
We'll contrast that directly with Australia. Same family, same calculation. Apparently jumps to about 8,243.41 CAD a month there.
Wow, that's quite a difference.
It is. And the source also mentions the UK is in the comparison mix, though it doesn't give us a specific figure for that in the part we're looking at.
That gap with Australia, though, nearly 3,000 CAD a month difference in that example. Makes you wonder what's behind that, doesn't it? Taxes, goods.
Exactly. And the source gives you these raw numbers so you can start asking those questions.
Yeah.
But it also immediately flags something really important about Canada itself.
Which is?
Its size. Costs aren't the same everywhere, not even close. The guide stresses that where you choose to live can seriously change your expenses.
Right, of course. Canada is huge. Big cities usually cost more, but maybe it's not always a simple equation.
Precisely. And the article gives us some specifics. It lists the average monthly cost of living, this time per person, for 5 of the most populated cities. Again, citing Numbeo.
Okay, let's hear them.
Calgary comes in at 1,576.7 CAD per month per person.
Okay.
Edmonton's a bit lower, 1,499.9 CAD.
Okay.
Vancouver is listed at 1,489.9 CAD.
Very close to Edmonton. Interesting.
Yep. Toronto's right there too, 1,489.2 CAD.
Practically the same.
And then Montreal is the lowest on this specific list at 1,387.5 CAD per month.
Huh. It's fascinating seeing those side by side. Calgary highest, Montreal lowest among these 5, but the actual spread, it's less than $200 a month between them on that list.
Yeah, it seems relatively tight for major cities in that snapshot.
But still, that difference adds up, right? And the article does say costs aren't always high everywhere. It really depends on the city or region, even beyond these main ones.
Absolutely. It just hammers home that point from that guide.
Yeah.
Location, location, location. For you, deciding where in Canada could be just as big a budget factor is figure out how you spend.
Okay, so let's zoom in a bit.
Okay.
From the city level down to the daily grind. What does the source say about everyday costs? Grabbing lunch, groceries, maybe some clothes, catching a movie.
Right, the nitty-gritty. And the article gets quite detailed here, using those Numbeo averages again to give you a feel for it.
Okay.
For eating out. An inexpensive meal is pegged at about 25.00 CAD, a mid-range 3-course meal for 2 people, around 90.00 CAD.
$90 for 2? Okay.
A quick fast food meal, like a McMeal, is 15.75 CAD.
Right.
Drinks. Domestic beer is 7.00 CAD, a cappuccino is 4.96 CAD, and a bottle of Coke is 2.73 CAD.
Got it. What about groceries, the stuff you buy every week?
Staples are listed with prices. Milk, 2.43 CAD per liter. A loaf of bread, 3.49 CAD. Rice is 4.27 CAD per kilo. A dozen eggs, 5.48 CAD. Local cheese, 17.36 CAD per kilo. And a 1.5-liter bottle of water is 2.68 CAD.
That cheese price, over $17 a kilo, stands out a bit.
It does. Clothing estimates are in there too. Like Levi's jeans are similar, 72.64 CAD. A summer dress from, say, Zara is about 53.36 CAD. And Nike running shoes are around 120.64 CAD.
Okay. And leisure, hitting the gym or movies?
Yep. Fitness club monthly fee averages 67.08 CAD. Renting a tennis court for an hour is 31.43 CAD.
Yeah.
And a single cinema ticket, 17.00 CAD.
$17 for one movie ticket. Yeah, that definitely feels noticeable. Like that. These little things, they really paint a picture of where the money goes day to day.
They're snapshots, yes, and averages pulled from the store. So your mileage may vary, obviously, but they give you a clear idea based on this guide of what common purchases might set you back in 2025 Canada.
Now, all this spending, it's only half the story, right? The source also touches on the other side, income.
Crucial counterpoint, yes. The article makes a point of highlighting Canada's reportedly high average salaries. It connects this to strong industries and regulations that, it suggests, aim to give residents decent spending power.
And does it give an average salary figure?
It does. The average monthly net salary, so after tax across Canada, is given as 4,176.22 CAD. Again, that's according to the Numbeo data cited in the article.
Okay, 4,176 CAD net per month average. That's a useful benchmark. But I imagine actual job salaries vary a lot. Does the article get into specific roles?
It does, yeah. It uses data from talent.com to list average annual salaries for some jobs it identifies as in demand. Let me run through a few from there.
Please do.
Data scientist, 194,266.68 CAD.
Wow. Okay.
Project manager, 175,777.31 CAD.
Still very high.
Pharmacist, 13,470.52 CAD.
Wait, 13,000? That seems really low compared to the others. Is that right in the source?
That is the number printed in the source we have, yes. 13,470.52 CAD annually for pharmacists. It's definitely an outlier compared to the others listed, but that's the figure provided there.
Okay. Well, good to know. What else?
Web developer, 106,732.22 CAD. Registered nurse, 104,994.49 CAD. Industrial electrician, 100,697.86 CAD.
So several roles breaking that six-figure mark.
Yep. Then accountant, 83,923.31 CAD. Veterinarian, 69,202.36 CAD. Truck driver, 67,131.90 CAD. And welder, 65,739.16 CAD.
Seeing those specific salaries next to the overall average net monthly pay, it really shows the range, doesn't it?
Absolutely. It underlines that while the average gives one perspective, your personal income situation could look vastly different, and that dramatically changes how those cost of living figures we talked about actually feel to you.
Makes sense. Okay, let's shift gears to the really big expenses, the budget heavyweights, starting with accommodation, using Numbeo averages again.
Okay.
Renting a one-bedroom apartment in a city center averages 1,864.64 CAD per month.
Okay.
Outside the city center, that average drops a bit to 1,645.51 CAD per month.
It's still significant. For a larger place, a three-bedroom apartment, average in the city center is 2,972.80 CR TAD per month. Outside the center, it's 2,560.25 CAD per month.
Right. So rent is clearly a major factor. Does it mention buying?
It does touch on buying. It references the Canadian Real Estate Association, CREA, saying the current average price for a Canadian house is 927,639.25 CAD.
Wow, nearly $1 million average.
Yeah. And interestingly, the source adds a comment that now is a fantastic time to buy. It doesn't really elaborate why it says that in the section we have, just states it.
Okay. That average house price is definitely steep. Rent gives a clearer monthly picture for many, I suppose. What about healthcare? That's always a big topic with Canada.
It is, and the source explains the system. Publicly funded, universal, operates under the Canada Health Act. It clarifies the taxes cover most major medical procedures and regular checkups for citizens and permanent residents.
But not everything, presumably.
Correct. It specifically points out that dental care is generally not covered by this public system.
Good distinction.
And it cites the Canadian Medical Association, the CMA, for the average amount spent per Canadian on healthcare annually. 12,538.880 CAD.
Okay, is that what people pay out of pocket?
No, that sounds more like the total system cost divided by the population. So the overall healthcare spending attributed to each person per year, funded primarily through taxes.
I see. Okay. Shifting gears again, transportation. Getting around. What does the source say?
It gives a few key numbers. A one-way ticket on local public transport is about 3.50 CAD.
Right.
A monthly pass averages around 104.90 CAD.
Seems reasonable for a monthly pass.
If you're using taxis. The meter start is 4.50 CAD, then it's 2.25 CAD per kilometer, and waiting time is 39.00 CAD per hour.
Okay. And driving yourself? gas, buying a car.
The gasoline price listed is 1.61 CAD per liter. And for buying a car, it uses a Volkswagen Golf or equivalent as an example, estimating the cost at 33,978.00 CAD.
Those transport costs, gas prices, seem kind of familiar compared to other places. Gives you a decent idea for commute budgeting. Okay, last big one, education.
Right. The article explained that education is largely subsidized by taxes for residents. But, and this is a big but, international students pay significantly higher fees.
How much higher?
Well, it gives Numbeo figures for international students. Private preschool is about 1,125.94 CAD monthly. International primary school is around 17,121.78 CAD per year.
Okay. And university?
For university tuition, it cites EduCanada data. For international students, the annual range is quite broad, from 30,274.33 CAD up to 51,793.75 CAD, covering undergrad and postgrad programs.
That's a hefty range, and definitely a major cost if you're coming to Canada to study internationally.
Exactly. It really highlights that contrast. Subsidized for residents, but a very different, much higher price tag for international students accessing the same system.
And just to circle back quickly to income at the other end of the scale, did the article mention the minimum wage for 2025?
It did, yes. It states that as of January 2025, the federal minimum wage is set at 17.3 DCAD per hour. Though it's worth remembering provinces can have their own, potentially higher minimum wages.
Right, 17.30 CAD federally. Okay, so wow, we've covered a lot of ground here, from, daily coffees and groceries, all the way up to rent, healthcare, education, plus income from minimum wage to those specific job salaries, all drawn from this onecanadianvisa.org article.
And seeing all these numbers together, pulled directly from the specific 2025 guide, it really does what the source aims for, I think. It gives you that essential baseline.
Yeah.
It starts to build that picture of what budgeting for life in Canada could look like this year. And the article, smartly, adds a tip about getting familiar with the Canadian banking system too, which is obviously key for managing all this.
And it's crucial to stress again, right, these figures, these insights, they are specifically what's presented in this particular source. This was our deep dive into their data compilation for 2025.
Exactly right. It shows you the financial landscape as they describe it, with all those variations based on location, your job, whether you're a resident or international student. All those factors matter.
It really does paint a complex picture. Hopefully taking this deep dive with us into this specific article has given you, our listener, a quicker, more sort of synthesized grasp of these key cost of living numbers for Canada in 2025.
It provides those concrete data points you need to start thinking about how this info applies to your own situation, your plans, or just your general interest.
So here's a final thought for you to chew on, pulling together the threads from this source. Given that range of average living costs we saw across different cities, and those specific average salaries listed for various professions, how dramatically might your particular line of work or the lifestyle you actually want to live realistically change your personal cost of living experience, especially when you compare different Canadian cities mentioned in this guide? Think about balancing, say, one of those higher reported salaries against the different average living costs city by city. Where might your financial reality look the most different based just on the numbers this source provides?